You guys might remember seeing a weanling Mustang mule back when we were picking up our first Mustang, Rooster. This little girl is a result of a wild Mustang mare being bred by a male burro out on the range. Although it's not super common, in certain herd management areas where there are both Mustangs and burros, it does happen from time to time. We actually tried to adopt one of these mules when we were there, but because they are so popular, they wanted to wait and put them through the online internet adoption process instead, so we weren't able to bring one home at that time. They actually had multiple mule-stangs there, which was really cool to see. Then earlier this year, I reached back out again asking if we could adopt one. And once again, the answer was no, because they still wanted to see them go through the internet adoption. So after more than a year of constantly checking the online adoptions for these mules, one of them is finally available. In the past, these Mustang mules have sold for around $5,000. And although we would absolutely love to adopt one, we just can't justify spending that kind of money on one right now, especially when we're working towards building facilities for gentling Mustangs on our new ranch lease and trying to save towards someday buying a larger property of our own. But if this little mule stays at a reasonable price towards the end of the auction, then we will definitely try to bring this little Molly home. This little Molly, which is a female mule, is just a year old. She comes from the Twin Peaks Herd Management Area, or HMA, which is also where Rooster, our Mustang, came from. So she's currently in Litchfield, California, which is also where Rooster came from. At a year old, this girl stands 13 hands tall. You have to remember that her sire is a burro, so she's probably not going to get too big. One thing to note is mules do have a ton of self-preservation, and we have found that Mustangs are very similar as well. So if you're not already experienced with mules and or Mustangs, it's probably not a great idea to adopt this little girl. The auction's going to start in about an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and go through and pick out some of my favorite horses to save and watch. We are thinking about getting some more Mustangs again, so we're definitely going to keep our eye on any that might be good for that. There is this 1-year-old bay filly that I really like. She is also from Litchfield, California. If I was going to do any kind of English discipline, I really feel like she has a really good build for that. She's 13.3 as a yearling. She also came from Twin Peaks. I like the way that this little girl moves, and I could just see her becoming some sort of dressage prospect or something like that. She's pretty darn leggy, and she'll probably get fairly tall. Some of those Twin Peaks horses can be upwards of 16 hands or even taller than 16 hands, and they usually have pretty good bone. I'm gonna add this girl to my favorites. As much as I believe that a good horse is never a bad color, it is fun to see what kind of flashy horses they have on here first. This 5-year-old roan mare is really cute. The downside for us though is that she's only 13.2 hands tall and she's already 5, so she's probably not going to do a whole lot more growing. This mare is currently located in Bruno, Idaho, which means she'll have a pickup location in Boise, Idaho, which is fairly close to us. It's not too bad of a drive. Buying online is a little bit challenging because you only get a couple of videos of these horses at most. They usually provide quite a few screenshots of the horses from their videos, but that's about it. However, if you do live in the Midwest or the East Coast, this can be a good way to buy a Mustang and get it hauled a little bit closer to you for free. They usually have several pickup locations in various states. Overall, this little girl doesn't seem too reactive and she's pretty cute. If I wasn't 6 feet tall, I would consider maybe bidding on this little girl. This little buckskin colored horse caught my eye. She's really cute as well, but she's only 13.3 hands. It seems like a lot of the horses from Antelope Valley HMA in Nevada are pretty small. However, if someone's looking for a shorter horse, I think this would be a really cool little Mustang. These bay dun colored horses always catch my eye. This girl is 14.2 hands, so she's a little bit taller than the last two. Bruno, Idaho is a private facility, which means the horses here cannot be seen by the public unless they go on these internet adoptions. But I will say they do a good job videoing these horses and getting pictures up on the internet adoptions. This little girl seems a bit more worried than some of the others, but it's a pretty scary deal for them. They get sorted off by themselves and ran into this pen with people, so you do have to give them some grace. My husband Jason is also picking out some of his favorite horses, and he's always really attracted to grulas. This mare is 9 years old and 15 hands tall. She is from the Antelope HMA in Nevada. It looks like she was rounded up in 2023. They do have horses out past that far end of the corral, and so a lot of these horses end up just kind of circling down around out there because they do want to get in with their buddies.
It might be a jumper.
Jason and I just mentioned that this girl might be a jumper. If I were to adopt this one, this is one of the horses I would want to make sure that we had plenty of height on the fence. A lot of the Mustangs will kind of look underneath these black tarps at this particular facility, but this girl definitely keeps raising her head up over the panels, which makes me wonder if she's attempted or actually jumped out in the past. She seems to know that there is a way out over the panels, which would make me a little bit nervous bringing her home. There's a really pretty 6-year-old strawberry roan mare. This girl kind of reminds me of the little red roan that we went and looked at in Wyoming not too long ago. She is 15 hands tall and was rounded up in 2023. I think I'll go ahead and add this girl to my favorites. I definitely want to watch her and see how much she goes for. She's a pretty cute little mover. I do like her build too. I could see this girl going for a few $100s, if not closer to $1,000 by the time this auction's over. A couple auctions ago, there was a roan pinto mare that sold for $15,000. This mare reminds me a lot of her, and it turns out she's actually from the same HMA. She's definitely not quite as well built as that other pinto mare, but I am curious to see what this girl is going to go for, so we'll go ahead and add her to the favorites. This girl is a 9-year-old mare. I like how close she's willing to come to the person in there. She really doesn't seem too concerned. I'm not sure how long this girl has been in holding, but I think quite a few years already. Since the other one went for $15,000, I'm curious how much this girl will go for. Jason spies a really pretty grulla mare. This girl is 8 years old, and she is 15 hands tall from the Calico Mountains HMA in Nevada. She seems like a really nice, big, thick girl. She has her numbers branded on her hip. Bruno, Idaho does not like to use neck tags on their Mustangs, and the ones that are branded on their hip are going to be going to long-term holding and not too much longer. At least that's what I was told by someone who worked there. She definitely is on the chunkier side, but she seems like a nice, big, stout girl. She's not overly reactive by any means. This seems like the kind of horse Jason would really fall in love with. She might paddle slightly with that right front leg, but overall she looks pretty sound and straight when she's moving around. There are quite a few pintos on this online auction, and a lot of them are from the South Steens, which is where Honey came from. Honey is our newest Mustang we've adopted. These horses are located at the Burns, Oregon facility, and although we went there and looked at them quite a few times, there's several of these horses that we don't recognize. One thing that was interesting to see is a lot of these Steens horses were pretty darn flighty when they came in the pen. For those of you who don't know, Honey has been the most sensitive Mustang I've ever worked with. She's only the second Mustang I've ever personally adopted, and she's definitely been a challenging one. She is extremely head shy and she can be very, very reactive. Not all of the South Steens Mustangs from this facility were reactive, but it was interesting to watch how many of them, compared to a lot of the other facilities and HMAs, were pretty anxious when they came into this pen. I have heard quite a few horror stories since getting Honey about South Steens horses, but I've also heard some really good things about other ones. Each HMA is just going to have horses that are really anxious and some that are really calm and awesome to work with. Even though different management areas are going to have different qualities to them, each horse is an individual and needs to be treated as such. One horse we did recognize from this facility was our girl, Texas. If you guys have watched any of our videos going and picking out a Mustang from the Burns facility, this girl really caught our eye because she had a star that looks exactly like the state of Texas on her head. We tried to advertise her to see if we could get her into a good home, but it looks like no one has adopted her yet, so now she's on the internet adoption. She is an 8-year-old mare from the South Steens. You can see there that she has the state of Texas on her forehead. We vaguely thought about adopting this girl, but we weren't sure we were up for the challenge of an 8-year-old mare. Little did we know how much of a challenge Honey would be, which is the Mustang we ended up adopting. This girl is a little bit reactive, but not as bad as some of the others. There's also this really cute pinto mare. She is a 7-year-old. She's 14.3 hands tall, but she's got a blue eye on her left side, which is really kind of unique. She is also at the Burns facility and from the South Steens HMA. She is a little bit more wired when she comes in here, but overall she doesn't look too bad. A lot of times horses, when they're pretty upset, they kind of have this like stabbing in the ground movement to them when they're moving around, and that's just because they're really, really anxious. Jason spies a roan mare that he really likes. This is a 7-year-old, but she also has a blue eye on her left side, which is pretty unique for a solid roan like this. She also has a little bit lighter tail. For those of you who know a lot about genetics with horse coloring, maybe you can tell me what's going on here and what color she might be and why her tail is so much lighter than her mane. It's pretty unique and I love her big blaze. We noticed a couple little lumps on her legs, but they're probably just cosmetic. She is 14 hands and from the Pancake HMA in Nevada. She was rounded up in 2022, so she's been in holding for almost 4 years now. Let's see how she does on her video. 14 hands is a little bit on the short side for us, but if we're just thinking about adopting her, channeling her, and then rehoming her, that wouldn't be too bad. I do like how this mare turns and faces the camera lady, and she's just kind of licking her lips and chewing there. It means she's processing everything. Even though she's trotting right here, her trotting is kind of this nice slow trot. She doesn't seem too anxious. I do like how she turned towards the camera lady as well right there instead of like whipping around facing the fence. That was a good sign. She did it again there. So I like how she can turn and give the camera lady 2 eyes when she's changing direction. That's a good sign. That was something Honey could not do when we first got her. Overall, I like this mare's demeanor. I think she's pretty chill. She's built like a little bulldog. She is built a little bit downhill, which I don't love, but overall, I do like her big bone and big feet. We are definitely going to add this girl to my favorites list, and we will keep an eye on her. We'll discuss if this is a mare that we might want to bid on. The nice thing about this online auction is that you can filter the horses. So I'm going to go ahead and filter them by height. We'll do a minimum of 15 hands and we'll just do a maximum of 19.2 hands because there's not going to be any horses that are that tall. This roan mare caught our eye. She is an 8-year-old. She's 15 hands tall and from Stewart Creek in Wyoming. It looks like she was rounded up in 2020, so she has been in holding for almost 6 years now. This is the part I don't like about Bruno, Idaho, because it is a private facility. People can't come in and look at these horses, and so it seems like a lot of them have been there for sometimes 4, 5, or 6 years. At this point, she's an 8-year-old, so she was rounded up when she was only 2 years old, and I feel like it's so much easier to get horses adopted when they're a little bit younger. So it's kind of a bummer that she's just been sitting and holding for that long. I'm gonna go ahead and favorite this girl and let's watch her videos. Right off the bat, she seems pretty chill, but let's see how she does as the lady walks a little bit closer to her. I like how she steps in and turns towards the lady. That's a good sign. She's kind of just walking around. She's got those big old dreads in her mane, but her mane is super long. She's really a cute mare. The more Mustangs I look at, the more I'm pretty attracted to these Wyoming horses. It seems like for the most part, they're pretty chill. This girl has numbers on her hip, which means she's probably not long until she goes to long-term holding. I bet this is probably her last chance to get adopted before she heads to long-term holding. But with her color and build, I bet she'll get adopted. I'd be really surprised if this girl doesn't get any bids on her. Overall, I really like this mare. I think she'd probably be a pretty nice horse. I like how she kind of stops there and thinks her way through that gate too. That's a good sign. I think we'll go ahead and keep our eyes on this girl, and I'll go ahead and favorite her so that I can make sure to watch her throughout the auction. We had to run over to our new lease and get some work done, but it's a little bit later in the day and I'm gonna check back in. The auction started earlier. I'm pretty shocked to see that our little mule-stang is already up to $6,900. It is just the first day. There is still 6 days and 19 hours left in this auction, so it's pretty crazy that this mule jumped up that high right off the bat. We had discussed a price of what we would pay for this mule, and let's just say that this mule has already skyrocketed over what we were willing to bid. I'm not sure who or what organization is bidding on this mule, but it's pretty crazy that they've jumped the price up this high already. She is really cute, and Jason made a good point that she has almost a perfect star for her star on her forehead. Jason said if we adopted this mule, he would for sure want to name her Superstar, which is pretty darn corny if you ask me. It looks like Jason's Grulamare has a bid on her already. She is up to $250. There is a red roan from the South Steens that we didn't look at earlier. This is an 8-year-old mare, and she's already $465. The way that these online auctions work is the bids start at $125, which is a normal adoption fee for Mustangs. But since this is an auction, then people can keep bidding up the price and the highest bidder wins. You still have to go through and put in your application, which needs to be approved before you can bid on these horses because it is still an adoption. There are a lot of horses at different holding facilities that you can just walk in and adopt for $125. But not everyone has that luxury when they live in the Midwest or on the East Coast and there's not a lot of Mustang events around. So sometimes the best way for you to get these Mustangs is on these internet adoptions if you live somewhere that really doesn't have any facilities or other options for adopting Mustangs around you. I'm gonna go head out and work with my own Mustang, but we'll come back and check on the prices here in a while. It's the next day and we're gonna see what the prices are for all of our favorites. It looks like our little mule is up to $7,400 already. It's a good thing we didn't let ourselves get our heart set on this little girl, because there is no way that we're gonna bid that much for this girl. I'm not saying she isn't worth it, but for us, we're just not gonna spend that kind of money. It looks like the roan pinto is already $360. The roan with the long mane is $505. My little bay is already $580. The pretty strawberry roan girl is up to $255. I'm kind of surprised she's not already higher than that, to be honest. We're gonna head out of town for a couple days actually to look at some more Mustangs. So we'll bring you guys along with that on a future video. But we'll check back in on the auction here in a few days. There are only 2 days left in the auction now, and let's see what the prices have gone up to. It looks like this little horse that reminded me of Mesa, I'm not sure if we showed you guys that horse or not, it has 0 bids. Mesa is our half Percheron, half quarter horse filly. This girl is pretty darn short, so she's not nearly as big as Mesa, and she's already a 6-year-old, but she does look a lot like her. Our roan pinto is at $380. Our long-maned roan is at $505. The little bay filly is still at $585. The little short roan is at $170. Jason's favorite roan is at $535. And our mule is now up to over $9,000. There's still 2 days left in this auction. Old superstar herself. This feels pretty crazy that this mule is already over $9,000, but hey, I guess when an Appy mule sells for $100,000 at Chrome in the Canyon, maybe this isn't so crazy. People can put in a proxy bid, so if someone else bids, then your proxy bid is higher. It'll just instantly bump your price up. I'm curious how much someone's proxy bid is. It looks like the proxy bid is winning. Who knows if it's $9,500 or $10,000. There's no way to know. You have to just keep bidding in increments until you outbid the proxy bidder. You could also put in a large sum and you might end up being the proxy bidder yourself. It's still crazy that within the first day, this mule was up over $5,000. Jason is really eyeballing this roan mare. She's already at $535. If you guys have been following along, you know we want to adopt 2 Mustangs and do kind of a friendly husband versus wife challenge with our Mustangs. So if this is the mare he chooses to adopt, then I better start looking for my own older mare to adopt as well. Whenever we do our competition, we want to get 2 Mustangs that are a similar age and gender. I'll have to look around and see what Mustang I would choose if I was going to have to adopt a little bit of an older mare off of this internet adoption. So far, the strawberry roan mare really comes to mind. I do really like her a lot. Jason has a couple days to decide if this is the horse he wants to go with for our competition. It is the very last day of the auction. Jason has been thinking on that roan mare and he's still undecided if he really wants to bid on her or not. It is interesting to see that the little bay yearling that I really liked is already over $600. She is a really cute mover, but it's kind of hard to pay that much when you know you can go to a facility and just get them for $125. Let's see how our little mule is doing. This mule is now at $10,000. I kind of have to laugh at ourselves because we've been planning on bidding on one of these mules whenever they show up on the internet adoption. We thought maybe they would go for around $4,000 to $5,000. And we were contemplating maybe even spending that much money on one. But boy, did we underestimate how much someone else might want one of these mules. Let's go check on the roan that Jason really likes. She is now up to $705. I think if she was around 15 hands or maybe even a little taller, she probably would be quite a bit more. I know if she was 15 hands or over, we would definitely be more likely to try and adopt her. I don't love the bumps on her legs, but she doesn't seem like she's lame at all. This is where the online auction gets a little bit tricky because you only have the couple videos to go off of. You have to make a decision about this horse without really seeing it too closely. This girl was rounded up in 2022, so she would have been about 3 years old. It's just a bummer that she's only 14 hands tall. We do have a friend that adopted a horse that was at this facility, and she ended up being taller than what her little description said, so that's something to keep in mind too. Sometimes the heights aren't always super accurate. There are a lot of really cute chestnuts, sorrels, and bays that still have 0 bids on them, and we only have 8 hours and 32 minutes left in this auction. This little sorrel mare was pretty stuck over in the corner, so it was hard to see her. This is where it makes it hard to decide if you want to bid on this horse or not because you can't really see him very well. You can see the other horse's legs just past that black shade cloth, so she's pretty drawn down to that end because that's where the other horses are. Looks like this girl is 15 hands tall and she's from the Twin Peaks HMA, which is where our Mustang Rooster came from. This cute little buckskin still has 0 bids, which I'm really surprised about. She is 8 years old and 13.3 hands, but I thought for sure someone would put a bid in on this little girl. She seems pretty mellow overall. She's just kind of trotting back and forth, but she's not overreacting by any means. I'm going to be really surprised if this little horse doesn't end up with at least a bid on it by the end.
Good.
There's a nice 6-year-old gray gelding that's already over $700. This boy is from Conant Creek, Wyoming. He was rounded up in 2024 and is 14.2 hands tall. He is a big solid boy and doesn't seem too crazy. He has a super long mane. I do like how drafty this guy is.
Yeah, I think he's like kind of.
This 7-year-old mare caught our eye. They're calling her a sorrel. I don't know if she's a chocolate palomino or a silver bay. What do you guys think? She does look pretty red, but she's also shedding off a darker color. Whatever color she is, she's pretty unique and flashy. She's only 14 hands tall. She's already up over $400. She is really a striking color and she's a cute little mare. There is a little filly they're calling a white. She's kind of a cremello color. She's already up to $830. We spot something they're calling an Appaloosa filly. This girl is only a yearling as well. She does have some mottled skin. If she's an Appy, what color is she gonna be? Would she be considered a fuse spot or a varnish? Or do you guys think that this little girl is just gonna end up graying out and not really be any kind of Appy pattern? We gotta check in on our girl Texas and see what she's up to. It looks like she's up to $755. I forgot to save her as a favorite earlier, but I'm gonna do that now. We definitely want to watch her and see what she ends up going for. There's also this cute roan pinto. She's an 8-year-old. I'm going to favorite her and watch her as well. She's already up to $2,500. This is the last day of the auction, so I'm curious how much more she's going to go for. There are so many horses on here, and a lot of them have 0 bids. We'll be back later in the day to check on how things are going. We had a Zoom meeting that ran a little bit late, and we almost didn't make it back in time. Thankfully, there's still about 20 minutes left on the auction. Some of these pintos are going pretty high already. This one's up to $1,300. We have 17 minutes and 18 seconds left. We're going to check in on the little mule. She is up to $10,505 right now. We can't spend that much on a little mule-stang, but let's go see what the other horses are selling for. This one's up to $1,010 for the little yearling bay. It looks like the little buckskin finally got a bid. Our girl Texas is still at $755, and this roan is at $2,500. Jason's favorite 7-year-old mare is now at $705. We still have a few minutes left for him to decide if he wants me to bid on her or not. We're gonna check out what is winning. It looks like the proxy bid is winning, so who knows how much they have that set to. We don't feel comfortable going much higher than what she's already at. Jason has about 15 minutes to decide if he wants to bid on this mare or not. This girl does have that crazy blue eye, but she does also have a couple bumps near her knee. That's a little bit concerning. I can't really tell here if there is a bump on her knee or if it's just the way her hair is. There are also a couple bumps on her back legs. The big Rula mare, which Jason really likes as well, is up to $655. She didn't seem quite as calm as the roan mare, but she is built really nice, and she's 15 hands, which is much better suited for Jason's size. Even though this girl was branded and probably heading to long-term holding, it looks like someone is definitely going to take her home. I really like this gelding. He's an 8-year-old bay from Muskrat Basin. There was a bunch of Muskrat Basin horses at Mustang Matt's event just the other day. He's really cute. He does have a big old Roman nose and a pretty big old head. It seemed like a lot of the Muskrat Basin horses had that. I couldn't tell if there was already a white spot on his back, like a pressure mark. This guy currently has 0 bids. He's 14.3 hands tall. This big gray gelding is at $780. I'm going to check back in on the mule. It looks like it's still at $10,505, which is where we left it off. Right now there is a proxy bid winning, so you have no idea how much money they have put in. You would have to just try to bid what you could and hope that you can outbid that proxy bid. This pinto is $2,500 already. With only 2 minutes left, we want to come back and check on the mule. The price still hasn't moved up yet. My guess is it'll probably jump the last few seconds of the auction. We're going to go back and check on Jason's roan mare that he really likes. She's still at $705. We're debating whether we want to put in a bid for $710. We probably won't win her, but if the proxy is set to 705, then there is a chance that we might win her. She is a little bit higher than what we want to spend on a Mustang, that's for sure, but Jason really likes this mare and it's his first Mustang he's ever adopted. And so if he really likes her, then I want him to feel like he can bid on her if he wants to. We decide to think about it for a minute. Jason's still unsure. It looks like we wouldn't be able to pick her up until June 12th in Boise. You have to bid at least $5 more. We're probably not going to win her for this, but there is a chance that if the proxy is only set to 705, that we could take this horse home. There is 43 seconds left in this auction. With 25 seconds left, Jason decides that he does want to go ahead and put a bid in on this horse. But unfortunately, the proxy bid was higher than $710. We think about it for a minute and see if we want to put in another bid, but we're just going to take that as a sign that it's not meant to be. $700 is a lot for an untouched Mustang when we could go to a facility and purchase one for $125. Jason did not get his roan mare this time, but that's okay. We'll keep looking for his first Mustang. It looks like some of the pintos went pretty high. This one went for $1,612. This little Abbey filly went for $1,500. The bay I really liked went for $1,260. There's a cute little Palomino that went for $905. The roan pinto went for $2,500. The gray gelding went for $780. Our chocolate Palomino went for $405. The Grula mare went for $1,500. And Jason's mare ended up going for $715. It looks like the cute little buckskin did get one bid, so this girl has got a home. And the little mule ended up going for $10,805. That's definitely more than we could have spent on that little girl. Let us know in the comments below if you would have spent $10,805 on an untouched feral Mustang burro cross mule. And if you're the ones that adopted her, we would love to hear how she does. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to come along as we look for our next 2 Mustangs. We have a whole ton of Mustang and mule content in the works.